The information displayed in this broadcast is known to cause increased amounts of FOMO. Wells only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weak hands. Where the haters at? Y'all bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. It's lullaby music, really, right? It's hard to believe that something like this exists. I get it, but you just gotta come to terms with reality. It just exists. Nothing we can do about it. Buy, steak, and chill, baby. Shout out to Marketable Thoughts. You can't get this kind of shit for free anywhere else. And it's very important to understand that. And we're handing it out. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. So much luck, once again, because the facts don't give a fuck. Peace.
Yeah, what's good? Hope everybody's having an outstanding Thursday. It was pretty dead for me. So made myself busy with busy work. Hope everybody's digging the price action if you're partaking. It's just I don't know. The way things are playing out are a little weird. And weird in the sense that something's definitely up. So at some point, everything will eventually go down. And I know it sounds kind of like duh, right? But, before the market cracked in 2007, it was kind of like this. In fact, the weekend it started, the Fed did an emergency 50 basis point rate cut. And what's interesting is that that's exactly what's expected of them to do next week Wednesday. But I don't know if that's really going to turn out the way people think it's gonna. Because, I don't know. I mean, the market isn't trending down. And typically, when these things happen, the market is already in motion. However, we are not in new high territory. We're still below the highs of the year. And when you look across the board, and we'll take a look at internals and whatnot, when you look across the board at the market, most of the market isn't really, it's not really, what's the proper word? It's not perky. It's not a perky market. So if it's not a perky market, then, you got to be mindful of the things that are seemingly too good to be true, because they probably are. Oh boy, another data breach for credit card. Credit card processor data breach exposes personal information for 1.7 million customers. Let's see what's going on here. This is like a few minutes ago. 5:23, yeah. Credit card processing service Slim CD, popular in the US and Canada, has revealed a massive data breach that exposed the personal information of nearly 1.7 million customers. The hack, which went undetected for almost a year, has raised serious concerns about data security in the financial sector. Now, we've talked about this before numerous times, and I've explained that the internet is not It's literally not a firewall. It's not an interconnected firewall, or excuse me, it's not a series of interconnected firewall. That's not what the internet is. The internet is a place where files are shared. That's literally it. It's not anything else. So there's literally no such thing as cybersecurity. And people do not understand that because they're sold cybersecurity. But if there was such a thing as cybersecurity, why would any organization just leave themselves exposed if there was such a thing as cybersecurity? I mean, they wouldn't. And then on top of that, no fucking hacks would happen. Period. Especially to the entities that actually are quote unquote secured cyberly, cybernetically, I mean. Excuse me. Oh my God, what a joke. Anyways, please learn how the internet works because it's the 21st century and we're already 25% of the way through. And people still haven't learned how the fuck the internet works. It's crazy to me. But do yourself the favor, especially in the age of quote unquote AI, when AI is supposed to replace every, if not all, human functions. I mean, that's their goal. So you might want to find a way to make yourself sticky if you don't know basic shit like how the internet works. Because the fact that this happens should not even be news. It should be expected, in fact. And that's my point. So let's keep moving. And let's go to the ones I bookmarked for circumspection, or should I say inspection. We looked at this one yesterday, right? Yep, yep. All right, let's keep moving over here. Yeah. Check this out. Germany suspends Schengen. Immigration repercussion across the entire EU. Now, what the fuck is this? This is the country that was pretending to be King Cuckold. King Cuck. That's what Germany is. For those that don't know. Um, and I mean, I experienced it firsthand. I was stationed there. So I got all the stories, all the experience, and I know well. And I tried to tell my German counterparts before I left, like, hey, and this was shit 20 years ago, man. This was fucking 20 years ago. I warned them about exactly what ended up happening. And it was so bad. This was pre Trump, by the way. This was pre Trump. We're talking 20 fucking years ago. And it got so bad, I pointed out all the faults, all the governmental faults. And we just, I mean, when you don't know you're a commie and you're a commie, I mean, I guess that's how the shit's gonna roll, man. And that's ultimately what happened. These people did not realize they were fucking themselves and setting themselves up for failure. And that's what we've seen across Europe, hands down. One of the only countries that hasn't succumbed to the nonsense is Poland, Hungary. But I don't even think Hungary is really European, is it? I don't really know. Hold on. I can't remember where the hell it is exactly. I just don't remember my map like that. Although I will say they do have some amazing women. I remember that from my time overseas. Budapest. Ah, yeah. Right by the boot. Yeah. So these people are really not European, but they're part of the EU. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. EU member. Now, what the interesting thing that you guys might not know about the EU is that there's two ways to be a member of the EU. You can be tied in. Oh, I think they actually. See, we go. Yeah, you can be tied in, just Hold on, let me see if they have an example here. Yeah, here we go. Hungary is actually an example where you use your own currency because they're not a eurozone member, but they're a Shenzhen. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but whatever. They're a Shenzhen area member. Oh, and actually, it probably says it up here. Yeah. So what is the Shenzhen Agreement? It was signed in 1985 and allows free movement of citizens without passport controls at border crossings within said area, the Shenzhen area. Now, this is what allows Europeans to travel seamlessly between countries with their fancy trains. That's what Americans don't have, the ability to travel on a train from one country to another, or I mean, one state to another, which is similar in terms of distance to Europe in terms of one country to another. But anyways, point is, uh, you got several countries in this bucket. Denmark, Bulgaria is another one. Hungary, you gotta think Romania's in here. Yep. What's so Poland? So what's interesting? Sweden is in this bucket. Oh yeah, they are, but they fucked up big time. The interesting thing about all these countries, ex Sweden, because Sweden doesn't count. They don't fit this criteria I'm about to lay on you. Uh Croatia's the one. Interesting. All right. So all of these places, Bulgaria, not Denmark. So all these places that are just area members and not monetary members, they all got bad dime pieces as females. All of them. Except for Denmark and what's the other one? Sweden. Just they're the only ones that don't have them. And what I mean is even the ugly women are fine. That's what I mean. So that's just a little pro tip for y'all that haven't been overseas and maybe are considering going overseas. Those might be some countries you want to visit. Money's going to be cheap, or shall I say the exchange rate is going to be cheaper because they're not using euros. So they're converting against euros. So their economy is already essentially quote unquote third world for what we think of as third world in terms of exchange rates. So you got that plus the European economy or European way of life or Western way of life. So it's a win-win. And you don't hear about these places a lot, which is funny because, those are the places you want to visit. So anyways, places like that, they'll allow travel between borders, but they won't use the currency. And the difference there is that you might be relegated to taxes or um, tariffs. Those are the taxes I'm referring to specifically. Those are import export taxes. And then whatever ridiculous impositions other countries want to invoke on you as a non-euro member state, even though you're part of the passport side of the agreement. But that's one thing about the eurozone that a lot of people. Oh, they actually talked about it here. But anyways, so let's read what the hell is actually going on. This is clearly an immigration crackdown in Germany. I mean, this is a place where when when you're traveling, right, you see how huge Germany is relative to the rest of the other countries, pretty much. Except for maybe France and Poland. Germany is pretty huge. Ukraine is huge. Belarus, not so much, but all the rest of them, minus Romania, are pretty regular, right? So when you're traveling to these countries, you're on a train, you're just whipping it. And traveling from one country to another, while it can be relatively expensive, is common. That's why there's train systems in Europe that allow for all of that stuff. Anyways, let me see something. Transit. Boom. Let's see if we can get some visibility into. I used to live here in this area, so let's see. Okay, yeah, looks like we're getting the roadways. There's the transit, but it doesn't look like it gives us the cross border situation, which is what I was looking for. Looks like it just gives us the local stuff. So whatever. Let me see here. Yeah, just regular stuff. So we'll just go back to regular. Whoops. All right. Anyway, idea being is that the face of the world is changing in real time, and we don't know what the next change is going to be. So if a country that's been the most liberal in the past 30 years, um, they don't they're done playing the commie game, that speaks volumes. I mean, that's a major change in the fabric of what Europe's been doing since 2000, 1999. And I see this interesting comment here that Germany will not do anything. It's just before elections in a state in 1 week. And maybe it's an election tactic. We'll see. But it's a hell of a headline, and it's a headline that they got no reason for pushing if they didn't mean it, or if they didn't actually consider it, or if it wasn't something here. I mean, there's something here, is my point. They would never print anything like this. I'm sorry, they just never would. When you talking about locking people up for saying quote unquote racist shit, which isn't racist, something's up here. So things to be attentive about. Texas City shuts down hotel occupied by another Venezuelan gang after 693 police calls. Hadn't heard about this one. El Paso. Paso has shit popping off all the time, so that's really nothing crazy there. Well, looks like there's a party going on here. This looks like. Oh nope. Uh, yeah, it looks like a party to me. Uh, whatever. More commie stuff that people let happen, and now they're acting like they didn't know it was gonna happen. Buffett's vice chairman dumps over half of his Berkshire shares. Interesting stuff, because who does that? I don't know. But and here's the funny part: it was only 200 shares, but each one cost like $700,000. So he probably said, "Fuck it, man, we out." That's probably what happened. Imagine, man, 200 shares. Let's see. BBB was a class A. So they don't show the class A on this document. Oh, here we go, class A. So let's see. Number of derivative securities. Da, 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 da. All right. Oh, okay. I see. So what this is saying is that these 200 class A common uh equate to all of this, and this is irrelevant to our understanding. But anyways, that's what this is. Because here you got the title of the security, class A common. Then here you have date exercisable. So down here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but let me scroll down. Each share of Class A common is convertible at any time at the option of the holder into 1,500 shares of Class B. So basically, 200 times 1,500 is what he sold. So it's really nothing crazy when you think about it. Cause dude probably got tons of shares. I mean, he's been working there forever. So, interesting nonetheless. Cause those Class A's used to trade on the exchange, but they never split them. They just did that conversion. But important to note, mark the date. Another season of shutdown theater is upon us, and Republicans are already cucking out. Oh man, yeah. So for those that don't know, the fiscal year ends in approximately 3 weeks, and what that means is that the government has to agree on a budget to run itself for the following fiscal year, and that's what the never-ending government shutdown circus is all about. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't know that. Hold on. About Germany, real quick. Apparently, they started a deporting campaign, which is very unlike Germany. So again, um, it's just a change of the tide, and it's an interesting one because it's just not something that they're accustomed to doing. It's literally not what they do. I mean, you guys, if you don't live there, you wouldn't understand. But you got to understand that it's like a very soft. It's a very soft country. And the reason it's soft is because they've used Hitler to break masculinity down over there to the point where you really only see, and I mean masculinity in the sense that the abrasive American type, like aggressive. Like you don't see anything like that out there. It's very rare. Um, anything like that is typically considered an outlier, outlaw type of personality. So, and it's really not. So that's what's important to understand about that society. That's a major change. It's a major change. It's just not something that they do. Why is there immigration crisis in the world? Well, the answer is actually nothing to do with NATO. Everything to do with the Jews. When you look at all the countries that allow or are not necessarily allowed, but actually, yeah, Japan doesn't allow any, very, very few, even legal foreign immigration into their country. So it's just the dumb Westerns that allow it to happen in an illegal fashion at a ridiculous clip. That's what destabilizes society. If you look at Germany 20 years ago versus how it is now, you can't even compare it. Like it's just not comparable. And the reason for that is because they don't invoke societal assimilation. When my family came here, the motherfuckers had to learn English. That shit was not a motherfucking option. There was no Spanish translations any fucking where. That shit came later. And that shit came with the commie movement. And that's all about winning the hearts and minds. And then when you look back and study how that shit happened, what you come to realize is that the people at the center of it all are always the same motherfuckers that are apparently a small fraction of the global population, but they're everywhere where bad shit happens, and that's the fucking Jews. So that's the actual answer, in case you didn't know. Um, Haha, appreciate the comment, brother. Yeah, man. There's a lot of trash out there, and that's the main reason I keep streaming. It's easy to just stop, but knowing what's actually going on out there makes it hard to stop because it's really just a bunch of morons that don't understand what's happening. It's they don't they don't. And just to harp on it a little bit, when you look at cryptocurrency as a market, Look at the size of the market. Is the market growing? Is it not? And the answer is it's not. All you're seeing is the shit that they want you to see. And that's the problem. People are very misinformed and they rely too much on YouTube for crypto information. And I'm tired of telling people you're not going to find shit there. You got to go on the fucking internet, search for files with info fucking mation, because the cucks that are making YouTube videos about fucking crypto are just looking for a pump. And if they're not just looking for a pump, they're going to pretend that they're not just looking for a pump, even if it lasts a year, 2, 3, because they don't understand the game. And unless you cash that money out, it's a video game, right? And that's why Hex is different, because it's strictly long term for those that understand the name of the game. And, I'm never going to fucking not tell this story, but it's like I've said a million times before. I had Bitcoin when it was worth nothing too. But guess what I didn't do? The smart thing, which was hold it and forget that I had it, like I'm doing with Hex. So while everybody cries, complains, and argues about stupid shit, I mean, I literally don't even have to work for my retirement. And I know this as a fact. But everybody else is lost because they can't figure out how to make money right now. And they need to figure out how to make money right now, but they won't sit down and learn a skill that will generate cash. And that's the main reason I do these streams where we cover the news and current events and stuff like that, because it gives people another avenue of approach to ways to make money. And if people took it seriously and they went to these websites that I'll talk about, like AMP Futures, and looked at contract specifications, and they would see how much they're making per tick. I mean, if you're putting up $30, right? Let's go to Wolfram real quick. If you're putting up $30, right? Let's say you're putting up $30 to trade a futures contract, a micro, because that's this bucket up here. You could probably, depending on where you live and what kind of paperwork you sign with the broker, depending on your broker, you can probably find these contracts for $50, $30, if not 100, which still isn't bad. But let's go with the worst case scenario, right? Let's say you got to trade with $100 per contract. Big whoop. Now, we're talking about $1.25 a tick, a dollar, $1.25 a tick, $2 per handle per point, right? This is $5 per point. This is $2 per point. The Dow is 50 cents per point. That one is just 1 point, but it trades in 5-tick increments, 5-point increments. So this is really $2.50 per tick in reality, based on how it actually trades. The Russell is like $5. Yeah, this is $5 per point. The DAX is like the Dow in that it trades like $5, $10. So once you get in that joint, you gotta be ready. You gotta hold on tight because it's gonna move. The DAX is like a NASDAQ. Euro stocks is like the S&P, which is weird. They're like whatever. I'm not gonna get into that. But anyways, so you have these opportunity sets here, ranging from 50 cents to $1.25, and you're essentially gonna make $5 to, let me think, $2 to $5 per point move, right? So some of these markets move. Let's say you're making an average of, let's split the 5 and the 2, right? Let's go 375. So we're talking about you're putting up $100, right? You're putting up $100 and you're making 375 per point. And let's say you hit a good day. And that good day happens to be 250 points because you trade something like the NASDAQ because you're not a dumbass. What's your ROI in one day with just 250 points, which ain't even crazy. It's not 250 points is not even crazy. Well, look at that. You just 9 extra money in one day. And you didn't even have to worry about losing it in some fucking scam coin. Damn. Crazy, huh? Yeah, that's why I don't fuck with fake crypto. I don't need to. Because I got skills that pays the bills otherwise. And if you can do it in fake crypto, like you think you can, because you're fucking putting your money as a place that you don't know if you're getting it back, why don't you put it somewhere where you know you're going to get it back? Because you understand there's already risk inherent in the market. So why don't you find a market that's actually going to provide you an opportunity to actually make money, not you hoping you're going to get your money back, which is completely different. I don't know if people don't get that, but it is what it is. So this is just so I don't know if you guys know what this is going on with the Save Act. So this Save Act is what the good guys, quote unquote, are trying to force the bad guys to agree to, so that there is some IDs checking at the voting scenarios that are coming up. And of course, I don't want to agree to that because that completely defeats the purpose of them letting all them people up in. So that's what's going on there. And that's why this year is going to be very interesting because Republicans want to tie a 6-month funding stopgap, continuing resolution to the Save Act, which would require proof of citizenship when registering to vote. On Wednesday, this Mike Johnson schmuck yanked the funding bill off the House floor hours before an expected vote after a growing number of Republicans vowed to tank the measure, which includes the Save Act. Democrats want a quote unquote clean funding bill, which I'm sure means without that, the Save Act, that would keep the government open until December, right after the elections, without, of course, there you go, the Save Act. Donald Trump wants Johnson and the Republicans to grow a pair of balls and let the government shut down if they can't preserve the Save Act, which is what they should do, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. You don't need to have any type of fucking political nothing to understand that that's the obvious action that will help you win as an American. The fuck? All right. What the fuck chart of the day? Initial jobless claim data continues to confuse. And this is why I don't bother really with economic data, as you guys probably have noticed by now. Sometimes I completely forget to even discuss it, touch on it, or anything at all. Now, what you're looking at here is the seasonally adjusted data in the green line. And what seasonally adjusted means, in layman terms, is manipulated. Non-seasonally adjusted means somewhat real, but they're still manipulating that number also because they're never going to really report the truth. Why in the hell would they do that? That's not beneficial. That literally removes power away from being in power. And that's the thing that people don't understand. So anyways, you have a 53,000 jobless claim gap. So they're trying to make it look better than what it actually is. Let's read. Having torn apart the official BLW labor market data earlier in the month, This morning's jobless claim data remains a mystery. Unadjusted jobless claim tumbles to 177,000, practically a record low, while adjusted claims has been flat for the past month. Continuing claims was flat on the week, 1.85 million Americans apparently. But the gap between the unemployment rate and the unadjusted claims continues to widen. And the idea here is that you understand that there's typically a very close relation, and this relation just got disrupted this year. And then it's this brand new distortion. This is what we have ongoing here. So this is why we ignore government data. There's no point in looking at it. Just look outside. It's good enough. Bad data and bad models. How the Fed has shattered confidence. The Federal Reserve boasts of its data dependence, but what if it's relying on bad data? Oh my God, it's like I perfectly teed that up, but I didn't. Even worse, what if plugging that bad data into, oh, excuse me, even worse, what if it's plugging that bad data into a faulty model? All right, so the one thing I want to explain to you guys is that these people don't make mistakes. And what I mean by that is that every policy error is not an error, period. It's intentional. You can't tell me you got all these fucking pieces of paper on your damn wall and you're that stupid every time and you still get to keep your job every time. Right? And this is the status quo. This is not this is not anything that requires any super analysis. Like if you really look at things objectively, you will see what I just stated. Consistent mistakes keeps job. Clearly, that means success. So that's why these people keep their jobs. In July, the BLS made a massive downward revision to the job numbers. Poof, the agency simply erased 111,000 jobs from existence. This has been an ongoing pattern. The BLS releases a report, the media trumpets the greatness of the labor market, and then the BLS quietly revises the numbers down a month or two later, and you hardly hear a peep. The BLS struck again last week when it released revisions to its June job openings and labor turnover survey, aka JOLTS report. It initially reported 8.18 million job openings. The media reported this as great news, better than expected. The revised number came in off by 200,000, almost 300,000 at 7.910 million jobs openings. That was a miss. But as a post on Twitter by Zero Hedge put it, quote, of course, nobody cares 1 month later. This is how the Kamala Biden Department of Labor has operated for the past 4 years, end quote. You might be tempted to laugh this off as, quote, politics as usual, end quote, but when you consider the central bankers at the Federal Reserve use this data to make monetary policy decisions, it's not funny. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and his fellow central bankers constantly talk about their data dependence. Kansas City Fed President Jeff Schmid recently said he wants to see more data before deciding on a rate cut. They wear data dependence like a badge of honor. After all, it does sound sciency, in quotes. But given the reliability of the data, maybe they should rethink the approach. Now, it's like I told you guys before. You know, these guys know they're getting bad data. They know that they're looking at trash that's going to be revised down or revised in general. You know, they're not worried about that. They're worried about being able to shovel their narrative forward. That's all. 46% of Americans didn't read a book in 2023. All I have to say is don't be one of those Americans. enabling a Brutus to slay Elon Musk's Caesar. Now, this is important because a Brit wrote this. This is America. Let's begin. In the Washington Post on Monday, the headlines read, Musk and Durov are facing the revenge of the regulators. Former U.S. Labor Secretary Robert Reich in the British Guardian newspaper published a piece on how to, quote, rein in, end quote, Elon Musk, suggesting that, quote, regulators around the world should threaten Musk with arrest, end quote, on lines of that which befell Pavel Durov recently in Paris. And for those who don't know who Pavel Durov is, he's the apparent CEO and founder, creator of Telegram, that application Telegram. So, as you guys are noticing by my reading of this here little piece, little snippet of it, you have a British individual writing about an article or a headline in an American newspaper where a former U.S. Labor Secretary, for whatever reason, wrote an article in a British newspaper suggesting that regulators around the world should threaten Musk and his ilk with arrest. So, in other words, if you're not doing what the commies want, you should get locked up. And this is the thing that people don't see. They make the general public dislike you first so that then they can come after you next. It's the same thing they did with Trump. That's why it's always, oh, this Trump guy is so bad. Trump man bad. Orange man bad. Blah, 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 blah. Like if they're fucking angels. People that support the murdering of fucking children. Because if you let these motherfuckers, they will fully enthrall abortions after birth, which is murdering fucking babies. Now, once you get to a certain age, you know, when we grew up, if you're born after 1980, you were literally brainwashed if you grew up outside of a church type environment to believe that murdering babies at any stage in the development, whether inside the womb or out, was okay. Makes sense. Because it's all about not being responsible for your actions, not being accountable for your actions. At the end of the day, that is what that is all about. You know, never mind the baby killing and the population destruction. You know, fuck all that. That's just one facet that works in their favor. The rest of it is total self destruction because you have no grasp on what the fuck you just did. You really don't. You're just thinking you dodged the fucking bullet, but you didn't. In fact, you shot yourself with a spiritual bullet, and that motherfucker's hurt forever. You can't get rid of that, and that's what they know and you don't. As a young punk that doesn't know shit about anything, and you're manipulated into believing that not being accountable for your actions is a good thing. Because that's what that is. And you pay for that shit in spades because you take those behaviors into other facets of your life. And you don't realize it because it's something different. But it's the same fucking thing. Because it's the behavior that makes everything. It's nothing else. So think about that. As should be clear to all now, war has broken out. There is no need for further pretense about it. Now, this is a British person writing this. Rather, there is evident glee at the prospect of a crackdown on the far right and its internet users, i.e., those who spread disinformation or malinformation that threatens the broad cognitive infrastructure, which is to say what people think. Now, you guys need to understand this is just the beginning of their use of shutting people down that make noise on the internet. This is why you don't show your fucking face on the fucking internet, you dumbass. Because you're not more powerful and you sure as hell are not intent on standing for anything. Because you're just trying to make money in most instances for most people that show their faces online. Just a fact. Because that's when you get all the views because it's all a psychological thing and also on top of that people are brainwashed into believing that because a motherfucker is showing his face he's trustworthy or some shit when that's completely fucking false. And I've clearly disproven that after 3 years of consistent fucking home runs every fucking stream, whether you understand it or not. That's what they are. So it's not about anything but the information that you glean from the internet. And that's what they don't want you to have. A solid, robust data set. They don't want you to have a solid, robust data set so that you can make solid decisions. And they want to ensure that anybody that's allowing you to have any kind of data set, that's not the data set that they want you to have, they're going to get rid of them first. And then they're going to come after you for whatever you think is cool that goes against whatever they fucking don't like. And don't think they're going to fucking warn you because commies don't got to do that. Turkey's Erdogan demands Russia must return Crimea to Ukraine. Imagine that. Once again, this guy putting his foot in his mouth. And here's the interesting thing about this. All this does is heighten global tensions because Turkey is trying to join BRICS, but Turkey is really trying to sidestep into BRICS because they're really gung-ho with the EU. That's why they got those Turks in all those countries, wherever they can have them. And if you've been to Europe, you know what I'm talking about. You've been out there, you know. If you know what the streets is doing, then you know. And the streets is everywhere. Europe too. So get in tune if you don't know. And first, U.S. alleges China directly supporting Russia's war machine. Uh-oh. Didn't I just mention BRICS? It's like they know what I'm going to say next. Crazy. Throughout most of the Russian-Ukraine war, Washington's constant complaint has been that China has ramped up supplies of dual-use items and technologies which aid Russia's defense manufacturing sector. Which is funny, because what is the U.S. doing? Literally providing U.S.-made weapons to fucking Ukraine. So how about they shut the fuck up? And clearly, they is not us. They is not us because we, the people, do not support U.S.'s backing of Ukraine while they literally money launder trillions of dollars through that fucking lie. Moving on. It was only in August that the Biden administration rolled out its latest sanctions aimed at disrupting the China-Russia transfers, which have included semiconductor chips, machine tools, microelectronics, navigation equipment, jet parts, ball bearings, and more. Those sanctions impacted over 400 entities and individuals, with many being Chinese companies. How about that? As expected, China had blasted the quote typical unilateral sanctions, and the key word really here is typical, from the U.S., warning that this only serves to disrupt global trade orders and destabilize global supply chains. China urges the U.S. to immediately stop its wrong practices and will take necessary measures to resolutely, this is the key word, out of everything I've said tonight, remember this fucking word right here. And if you don't know what it is, Google it. Safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies, a foreign ministry statement said last month. But this week, Washington has gone further in its accusations for the first time, accusing China of providing direct support for Russia's war machine. Now, it's like I just said, the US has no fucking leg to stand on, and by the US, I mean the deep state, and by the deep state, I mean the Jews. They have no leg to stand on with regards to any claims towards any third parties connected to Russia, because the US is directly engaged in a proxy war, which isn't really a proxy war, with Russia in Ukraine. So these people really need to shut the fuck up. Because in all reality, we're lucky that we're not being attacked physically on land, because there's nothing but reason for people to do it. And luckily for us, the rest of the human race isn't as despicable as these fucking Jews, because if they were, this country would sure as fuck look like Palestine, Syria, Lebanon. You fucking name the country that these motherfuckers haven't destroyed. It's just fucking crazy. And everybody just sits here and smiles like the shit isn't happening, or like they're not next. And here's the best part: you're fucking next. What do you think this SAVE Act is all about? And them not wanting to shut the government down and wanting to exclude the SAVE Act. Everything seems so disconnected, but it's all connected. And that's how they trick everybody into thinking that nothing's connected, when everything is in fucking fact connected, for sure. Now the charge is gone from indirect to direct Chinese support. I mean, I don't have to read any further. The U.S. directly supports Ukraine in this aggressive, illegal, unlawful tactic that they're fucking deploying down there. So let's not pretend that what's going on isn't going on. And we can all stop fucking being foolish. All right. Let's look at the dollar. The dollar reversed today, believe it or not. Started trading higher, and by the time trade opened up in the morning, London time, started rolling. And I think that this is around the time, that it actually started collapsing on itself. And ultimately down here, it's when it was obvious it just wasn't going to get up again. And this could have just been a setup for the get up. Really, let's take a look and see what the market is showing us as far as price structure is concerned. I mean, you got support right here. The market seems to be positively reacting to it right now. However, looking at volatility and momentum, it's going to have to really be, as well as volume, it's going to have to really be some support here when the market opens up. This market opens up at 8 o'clock, doesn't open up at 6 like the rest of them. So we're just going to wait on this one. But yeah, that's what happened with that. Crude found the floor. And we marked it. Give it a second. It's going to populate. There you go. And apparently I have marked something else at some point. I don't know when. Don't even remember. But, when you're in the zone constantly, does it matter? Nah. So moving on. We marked out this pattern area that looks like a pennant flag, so to speak. So if the market really does respect this level here, like we, anticipated it would somewhat, that's why we have marked this purple area at some point in the past. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. If it's going to respect it, then we're going to need to see this resistance area be eclipsed. Let's zoom in here, get a good view at it. There we go. So we have this big candle here, right, from a couple days ago, or last week actually. So looking at 3 days. So this is hold on, let me see something. This is from the 3rd of September through the 6th, because that's when it started. So over this 3-day period, the market basically crapped itself, right? So you got a $2.2 range from this low, which is 68.75. You go up to that 70.75 plus 20 cents is 70.95. So basically, let me close this here. 70.95 is the cutoff. So we could just say a clean 71. You really don't want to see the market travel further than there. But we'll see. We got a nice little downdraft. It should get capped right here, honestly, given what it's looking like right now. Um, yeah, I think a move above this high 70.82 is probably danger for the Bears as far as the downside goes in crude. But it's overall weak, right? And you still have room to run at 71.40, 71.50 if the bear trend is going to be sustained. These moving averages are going to continue to creep down even if price retraces up here. So they're ultimately going to meet at some point. And the market, as we've talked about before, never breaks through on its first attempt, right? Sometimes not even its second, sometimes not even its third. But if it's going to break, it will. And if we are at this point where the market is in fact breaking, and this is just a pit stop along the way, it's good to be cognizant of that. We've gone from 65 and a quarter up $4 to 69 and a quarter. And that's really just in a matter of probably 12 hours or 48 hours or so. Give me a second. Let's see here. Yep, 2 days, 5 hours, so about 53 hours. So that's how quickly you can make $4,000 if you got your pockets right. On another note, but yeah, you could also lose 4,000, right? If you would have been dumb enough to get short down here, which I don't know why you would do that, but sometimes we do not think when we press buy or sell. Now let's take a look at gold and see what's crack-a-lacking with that bad boy. So as we talked about before, it's just been floating, right? Oh, actually, we didn't look at the VWAPs. Hold on, we're not done with crude yet. So one thing I did want to highlight before we got off the crude oil topic is, we're bouncing off these VWAP levels. So you got the quarterly up here, which is tighter than the annual, obviously, right? And this is the annual down here. But the thing to keep in mind is that, if price really is going to rebound, this is a great area to assess risk because of what's actually happening to price, right? Because one or two things is going to happen here. Price is either going to consolidate, thereby setting up a buying scenario, or it's going to roll up and roll over. And what I mean is it's going to essentially do the same kind of thing that it's been doing. Retrace and then puke. Retrace, puke. Because sometimes the market just has to move like that. And let me see, I'm just trying to find a down move in crude. Crude is interesting the way this market trades because it retraces a lot. Even when it's trending, it retraces a lot. So the thing to understand is that, right, that it retraces a lot because actually, let's look at a 5-minute chart. I'm just trying to make a simple point. Um, you look at this. This is a perfect day right here to talk about. This is one trading day. All this right here. You know, this is crude. This is why people love trading this market because the opportunity set in here, the opportunity range, excuse me. Let's see. Looks like $2.50 or so. Yeah. So you got 234 ticks of opportunity in a 24-hour period. When you think about the average person's daily income, most people don't make over $300 a day, right? And is Wolfram still open? No, I closed it. $300 a day And let's say there's what, 260 working days in a year. Let's see how many working days in a year. 251. All right. So it's just like the market, basically. So let's go with 52. That means $75,600. All right. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. If you live in New York, that's no money. None. And that's sad because that's a lot of money. But in reality, $2,304 is much better. Right? Now, the thing is that it's hard to say, yo, I'm just gonna extract X amount of dollars every day. It's hard to say that. But it's possible because with a simple strategy like a moving average crossover strategy, understanding that markets don't bottom like this, but instead that they bottom like this, it becomes easy to understand what you have to look for. And the same thing works in reverse. Tops are just like bottoms. You know, you let's line it up here. Some shit going on out there. Um, Hold on. Alright. Actually, damn, I should have changed the color, but whatever. I'm gonna change this to white just so it's more visible. Hold on. Just so it's more visible. Let me make the line a little more aggressive also. I mean, there's some people that don't even use anything. They just use straight up candles and shit. They don't even bother with the rest. So it's just a matter of understanding what you're looking for. Some of us like some type of security when we're placing these trades, and thus use indicators and whatnot. Some of us are just used to using them. Some of us actually use them. Um, you know, just everybody does their own thing. So what you guys are seeing is, these shapes playing out, right? You got a W here, M here, right? And that's literally how markets bottom most of the time. You will have your instances and when you get a V, right? But it's really never just a V. If you zoom in, you'll see there's an actual, oops, you'll see there's an actual inverted head and shoulders here, right? So what seems like a V is really not. It's just an inverted head and shoulder, but it just happened in what seems to be a quick amount of time, but it's not because, it's 5 minutes for damn candle. That's like 2 hours. It's a long ass time in futures money. So you got to be paying attention to that type of stuff. But that's how markets, they make their patterns, but this is the most consistent pattern that the market makes in terms of rotating up and rotating down. Of course, it will make other patterns like an inverse head and shoulders and stuff, and all the others that you guys probably have known and seen and heard of. I don't gotta break it down, but just understand that there are patterns that play out more than others, right? And look, here's a similar, that pattern that I just showed you is similar to this pattern here. It just doesn't seem that way. But if you stare at the lower highs, or excuse me, at the higher lows, they're successive, right? And that's how you know the market is leaning in a certain direction. That's all you need to know. Everything else is ancillary, really. Because if you look at the big picture here, we're looking at a 5 minute chart, right? We went from here straight up to here. There was no break. And the thing that's hard for us to understand when we're stepping into the arena new is that when the markets rip up like that, they always retrace. Doesn't matter. So eventually this market will retrace all these moves right here. And that's what most of these lines mean, is that the market zipped up a little too fast here. So while there's some strength, there might be some future reckoning, right? Because price likes to find support, calibrate, pivot, yada yada. So, these are just things you guys got to think about when you're out here operating in these markets. Because, these bullets come fast at us. They come fast. So that's crude. All right. We had the VWAP on it. And one thing I want to point out is that, is this the annual? This is a quarterly. The quarterly VWAP, right? It got stretched down. It's angled down versus the annual, which is a little flatter, right? The annual is a little flatter versus the quarterly, which is sloped downward, right? So as price trades higher, we're gonna see which one is really controlling price in the short term, right? Because if it does eclipse this resistance area, then that would signify that the odds are high for prices to continue to at least the 76 area or 77, 78. All right, but the question is, will that be it? That's the question. Because typically, like we talked about before, typically when prices hit such an extreme, they go all the way to the other extreme. And we saw this the end of 2023. It went from the low, and it only hit the low of the quarterly. It didn't even hit both annual and quarterly. So it's going to be interesting to see if it really just stops here. Um, so I'm going to be looking to play this long if it does come back, but we'll see what it does. We'll see what it does. Cotton doing what I expected it to do. And it was super strong today, so it's definitely doing what hold on, gotta get rid of the VWAPs. There you go. This is the past 2 days since September 10th. And the 10th was the day that it made the low that we wanted to see in order to confirm a buying trigger, right? You want to see it actually lock in that support level. And that's something that takes us a long time to learn as newbies, because we're just trying to click buy and sell. We're trying to make that money, not understanding that you got all day to make that money. All you need is a wait for one good setup, and you don't even really need to trade more than that. If you wait for one good trade, you don't have to make two. And it takes people a long time to really get a good grasp of that reality, because we're misled to believe that you can click the thing a million times and make $1 million in a day. But nah, you can't. However, back to this, cotton is looking good. It's right up against a resistance area. We just want to see it blast through there, really, and just stop playing around ultimately. But the question is it actually going to? Right? Because we've been at this party before, from a market structure perspective, excuse me. Let me see if this is the one. It looks good as far as this support being locked in. This is not the one. I always pick the wrong one. It's this one. Yeah. What do we see here? 66.26. All right. Nope. Not what I wanted. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Just very particular about these damn things. So what am I doing? I'm looking for a midpoint between all of these highs. That makes sense relative to this low. So the low was 66.26 and the high I picked was 66.44, which makes sense. At any rate, we watched the market to stay above the 66 and a half area. We got a confirmed rotation at 67 and a half and even cleared out the support that was being shown at 67 and a half on the daily. So we're looking mighty fine as far as cotton is concerned. And for those that don't know, the margin on cotton is 23.25 or something, 23.50. Margins. I looked it up earlier, 23.50. And the only thing that sucks is that it's on the ICE exchange, Intercontinental Exchange. And that's a soft commodities exchange. And they charge out the ass just to be um have access to their fucking market, which is such a commie thing because guess what? The people that trade on that fucking market make that data that you're selling to them. It's so ridiculous. These institutions are so communistic and the average American just can't wrap their hand around it because they've been lied to about what capitalism is. So anyways, you got to pay $130 a month to just have access to their markets, basically, is what I was getting to. And long story short, let me see something. Let me see if we can find 50,000. Yeah, so I think it's 5,000 a point or $500 a point. So if it goes from 70 to 71, that's 500. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. At any rate, if you really want to make some money, and I mean fuck you money, for real, I advise you to start learning about these futures markets here soon because eventually all of these commodities, whether soft, physical, or livestock, they're going to rip. I've been telling people this shit since 2019 and they've missed the first leg big time. So you don't want to miss the big one, right? While people are sitting here waiting for the crypto bull run that isn't coming, prepare for the one that is. That's my advice to you because that's basically what I've been doing. We've been talking about this bull run since all the way back here. I've been talking about cotton to you guys for that long. Watched it run up to 100, and I wasn't ready because I knew that wasn't the one. This is going to be the one because that's how markets move. They make that stupid move to make you think, oh, it's time to go, it's time to go. But no, we're actually going to gut fuck you first, then we're going to go because it's always about max pain. It's never about anything else. So now that we've got the move locked in, you could pretty much see it ride. Once this thing goes, it's gone. So the idea is from these Fibonacci's is that if this thing goes, it's gonna hit here or there's another level that it pops in here. Let's see. Oh, it's not throwing it up here. What's up with that? Well, there's a level between 1 and 1618, but they're not putting it on here. I don't know why. Here we go. Any others? No. Yeah. So 114 and 127 would be the targets based on this move from 103 spot 80 down to 66 and a quarter. If this thing is going to really run, right, and let's say you get in at 80, well, goddamn. And let's say it does run 110. That's minus 80. That's 30. That's 30 times 500. That's a whole lot of money that you didn't have. And you're only using 2,300 bucks to do it. So things to think about. You know, go to these websites, man. I don't have nothing to sell you. Only thing I'm trying to share with you is information. Because at the end of the day, cost of living is not going anywhere but down as far as your pockets are concerned and what you're going to have in them. Because I definitely ain't talking about the damn prices. That's for sure. All right. So, anyways, we're watching this market to make a move above this 60, or excuse me, 70 and a half area. And, long story short, you wanted to buzz through, come back, find some support right around here. 69, 68, 67 area. You ultimately don't want to see it surpass any of this. You just want to see it keep making higher highs, if not the same level. And then we ride out. And actually, let's not forget the VWAP. Because the thing about the VWAP is that it's like a rubber band. It snaps things, it snaps price. You got to think about this like a pinball. When I think of price, I think about like a moving particle through space. I don't know why, but that's how I think about it. So if this thing is hitting here after pumping up there, eventually it's running out of energy and it has to turn around. So if it is going to turn around and if it is going to be a big move, you can definitely expect this to at least tag its previous VWAP annual type at 1010 or 110, excuse me. And if you're long and lucky, it'll go all the way up to 130. Because again, the dollar is not going up. Think about what constitute currency appreciation. A positively growing economy where the aspect of positive interest rates is a positive thing, not a negative thing, and not an economy where lowered interest rates are a good thing, which is just not America. So, you can let that go. It's not here. You're not going to find it here. And that's why gold is at 25.85, hop, skip, and a jump away from 2,600. And I mean, there's not really much to be said about this chart. Just get in where you're fitting if you can and enjoy the ride, I guess. Because it's just getting started. It really is. And if you don't know, I've done streams on gold and how they have the power to manipulate the price if they can. They try to. That's why prices were basically going nowhere for 10 years. Prices didn't go anywhere since 2010. Whoops. Not long enough. There we go. All right, 2011. Up until it broke out in 2020, but it was a fake out because prices came all the way back and then they took off again. But really, the best point in time to buy, I've talked about this before also, was 2015 when they released that Pet Rock article. Matter of fact, let's see. Pet Rock, WSJ. Oh, that's Pet Rock. Let's see if we can. Let's see. I'm never going to forget this because I literally went and bought gold. Shit. July 17, 2015. What do we got here? What do we got here? December. July. The low is 1072 in July. And it went as low as 1060. I'm sorry, 1045. So 30 points of heat for a 1600 point move. Thanks, dude. I mean, you guys got to understand that is what mainstream media is there for. They're not there to provide any actionable information to you as individuals. Copper just looking like it's ready to do things. I don't even know what to say. Um, yeah, it's already in bull mode. Actually, I just didn't realize because I don't really look at copper that much. But yeah, this thing is riding out. That's what the moving averages are telling us because they're just all wide open. Heating oil is gonna look like crude, and so is gas, which is a shame because I would like it to stay down here. So maybe we'll get lucky. Let's look at the dollar. The dollar again rolled over today, and let's look at the December contract. Uh, the dollar rolled over. It doesn't look as positive as it once did a couple of days ago, and that's mainly because of how it rolled over. It didn't breach. Let me zoom in here so you guys can see what I see for now, anyway. Um, Price did not breach resistance. Right, you had a lower high than a week ago, and then the market on top of that rolled over in the same session after a couple of indecisive candles. That's what these candles pretty much mean because they don't really have a direction. They just have a very small range in terms of what the body of the candle is. And that matters. So, not a hot looking chart for right now. You got to open down here, right? I mean, there's nothing below this except for the VWAP. But the VWAP is exposed because what this means is go down further. This is providing an avenue for price because, again, you have to remember this is like a particle moving through time and space. So if it's allowed a path of least resistance, which is no moving averages below it and all of them above it, well, the path of least resistance is down. Very simple. And that's going to definitely carry these markets higher. Here's a E-mini S&P 500 futures. And as you guys can see, the VWAP held along with the Ichimoku cloud, which is what you're seeing here, the red. Let me zoom in a little bit. You had moving averages long term below price. You had the Ichimoku cloud. You had this area of support right here. I mean, the market really didn't give uh, any solid indication that it would keep going down further, especially given the fact that after it opened the day after the Friday, which was the following Monday, early this week, it immediately rebounded. It didn't really find any bear. Hold on, guys. All right. So yeah, price is supportive up here. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Same deal. Bounce right off of VWAP. It was just a better, cleaner trade. And what we're looking at right here is you have. Oops. All right, I'll get rid of that at some point. But you have price breaking through this downtrend line that I had outlined here, which is good. Ultimately, oh, actually, we already bounced off of it all the way around. Not sure that you guys can see it, but let me draw it on this chart. Oh, actually, there it is. No, there it is not. Didn't have it on this chart. That's why. Let me draw. Let me zoom in on this one. All right. So this isn't the cleanest representation because I did it off of a daily, but I also have it on in those other charts, but they just don't look the same. Um, yeah, no, it just doesn't look the same. Let me see if I can load a new chart. Actually, what's the name of it? Hold on, guys. All right, let me load another chart. I think this is about a representation of what I'm trying to show. Almost there. All right. Get rid of all of this, that, 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 and that. All right. So ignore this line, that line. Just focus on this middle line right here. In fact, I'm going to make it ridiculously big. So this ridiculously thick line on the screen is the one I was trying to show you guys that was on the black chart. But I had it drawn on this one here. And this is the one I was trading off of because it's just on the chart I'll trade on. But long story short, you wanted the chart, the price to, as long as it respected this, follow shorts. And then once it broke above it, it needed to test it. And it tested it twice. And then the second one was where you got the big move. So things to be aware of as the market trades. All right, this is all about identifying patterns. And if you're trading a real market where everybody's adept to what is actually going on, it's a much better trade. And you don't have that in crypto. What you have in fake crypto is people pumping their own coins, literally. So, and that's not a secret. It's what the fuck they got to do because I told you guys at the start, look at the market cap. Look at the dollar value in the system. It does not grow. And then where it is growing, you're not seeing it because it's not for you to see. Because they want you playing in the shit sandbox, not the good one. So that's what you get with fake crypto. Do not forget that. All right. So we talked about that. And again, that line, that slanted line is exactly the delineation between bull and bear as of right now. You got volume on the NASDAQ eclipsing the moving average on the cumulative delta, which represents the net buying and selling. So the buyers are clearly in control right now. Momentum is upward. You have a upward sloping, a couple bottoms here, a couple higher lows. And volatility is also, excuse me, guys, is also uh, showing signs of positive price action because it's trading upward, which means uh, up in price. Because I actually invert the scale. Because if you think about the VIX, right, price goes down when the VIX is going up, and that's what you see. Actually, let me put the pane up here. Oh, why isn't it going up? There you go. So let me get rid of this. Actually, all this shite. All right. Collapse. Okay. So volatility up, price down. That's literally just how markets work. But it's because I care about the value, and for like I understand that already. So I want to look at it as a regular indicator. So I just invert it. That's all. Yeah. So everything is looking positive right now for equities and negative for the dollar. And that is interesting because when you zoom in, and this was the main thing we were going to talk about today. Um, Hold on. Brett. All right. So this first chart we're going to look at is a total advanced decline volume ratio. So 2.78 up day. Previous day, 2 point something. 2.33 up day. Day before that, 1 point. Or it was above 1. So up day. What do we have here? This one is NYSE, same deal. Advanced decline volume ratio. So for every advancing stock, for every one declining stock, there is 2.56 advancing stock. That's what this is saying. And the same thing here, except for that the number is 2.28. And that's all that these two mean. But what you need to understand is that for every stock that's going down, there's 2 to 2.5 going up. That's what those two indicators mean. And at one point, Friday 23rd, what the hell go helping that day? Hold on, let me see something. Market topped out that day or something. Uh, no, not really, but it was kind of a capitulation move though, which is weird. All right, let's see what do we got here. Volume, up volume, minus down volume. So it's a positive value, right? We got 383 million up versus down. So that's a pretty sizable net positive number. And it's approximately 25% to the high and very far away from the low, like very far away. Percent of stocks above 5-day moving average is at 67%. Percent of stocks above 20-day moving average at 42%. Percent of stocks above 50-day at 49. Percent of stocks above 100-day, 54. Percent of stocks above 150-day, 53, 54% also. 200-day, 54%, almost 55. So, uh, percent of stocks across the board are bullish. Mine, barring the 20 and 50-day readings. But the long term ones are all bullish. The short term one, 5-day, is pretty bullish. So that is kind of giving us the broader, bigger picture. Things are not as bad as they kind of seem. Advancing stocks 1486 on the NYSE versus 408 on the NYSE. What do we have here? So that's again like 2.5 to 1, right? Same deal. Total advancing stocks 3,000. 463 versus 1,645, and that's the famous 5,000 number that you hear quoted all the time. Total stocks. So there you go. Again, 3.4 to 1.6 around thereabouts. So 3 to 1, 2 to 1. There's your advancing stock to up to down. I'm sorry, guys. I smell like there's a fire around here somewhere, but it's the Bronx, so that's common. Just trying to make sure it's not too close to home. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on in the markets, guys. I think we covered everything pretty solidly. Here's the VIX. It's still trending down. And And yeah, that picture hasn't changed even when you zoom out. It looks like volatility is just soft for now. Big range, volatility is just weak. And as far as it gaining any momentum, meaning that market is soft on volatility right now, so it probably will keep trending lower. I mean, that's what we're seeing. Whether it's the S&P VIX or the Nasdaq VIX is doing the same thing. They're both looking pretty weak. So we will see how this cookie shakes out. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything that needed to be covered. We covered the economic data. We covered the news. Hold on. I think there might be some videos I want to show you guys, and then we'll be done. Hour and a half. Pretty good. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Got a couple of videos to show you guys that are just freaking funny. And another one that I'll wait for next time, because it's just like, wow. All right. I want to start not with that one, but with this one.
Not everybody here on this planet has a soul. In fact, a lot of them are just projections of program. And that's all they care about is regurgitating the program that they have been created by artificial intelligence.
I'm not even sure what the hell is playing right now.
Intelligence. And how you tell the difference is a human being has the ability to change.
Figured it out. All right. So let's play this thing and let's get to laughing.
And unfortunately, that's what is happening.
All right. So this is a smug Democrat who tells moms who testify about their children's death at the hand of, quote, violent illegal gang criminals, alien criminals, that they are being exploited by Republicans. You need to hear how they respond. It's just pretty funny, actually. And this is your typical embarrassingly stupid politician.
Today at this committee hearing, where we have today.
I don't feel exploited in any way. As a matter of fact, I find it very interesting that all 5 minutes for both of your testimonies on the left have not had any questions for us up here, but instead a speech. And I will tell you, I'm getting tired of hearing about the most comprehensive border bill, which did nothing for immigration. I mean, for American citizens.
It's insulting that you would say that to these families, that you would make an assumption that they're being used or exploited anyway. But I will do is I'll give you my number. It's 281 673 30736, and I'd like a phone call from you to see what particularly in Houston and Harris County, not one time when her daughter was murdered and I was helping her navigate the criminal justice system, did one Democrat call me to offer their assistance. It was only Republicans. And I am an independent. I vote both ways. So it's insulting. No, please don't speak over me because I'm still talking. I'm not done. I have the floor. If you want to answer me, you ask.
Has the time and the witness is allowed to respond.
So I'm asking. You said some very broad statements. It's insulting. These people lost loved ones. They lost children, and we want to see a difference. We may not understand everything that's going on, but I assure you that we're not being used in any way. And if today somebody calls that number that wants to help from any side of the aisle, we want solutions. Please don't make an assumption that we're being used. That is insulting.
The time belongs to the chair. The chair now yields the remainder of his time to the gentleman from Texas.
Very insulting. All right, hold on, guys. So this one, more Springfield, Ohio. It's getting real.
You know, the homeless problem. I don't know of a single homeless Haitian in this town because they all got vouchers. But I can show you a whole bunch of people that have been displaced because I'm that guy. Rob, you know, for 25 years, I've worked with the homeless in this community. You know, a lot of people don't know because I'm not the guy out there blowing the horn because it ain't about me. It's the Jesus in me that goes out there and does it. Trust me, there's days I'm tired, but I'll get into homeless camps that nobody in a suit and tie will walk into. None. They trust me because I've never let them down. You know, and guys, if you don't think it's here right now, in October, we are getting ready to hit a wall here. There is not any relief for the homeless. The homeless people in this community are not the people you think they are, the squatters that aren't happening. It's not there. There's veterans. Come see me. I'm not real hard to find. Ask anybody on the street. They'll tell you how to get a hold of me. I'll take you there. And no, they don't want your toothpaste and your peanut butter sandwiches. They want you to come up with a solution to why they're displaced, why they lived in a house. I personally know, and I'll testify under oath, my hand to God, somebody that lost their house. They were there 7 years. The landlord said, hey, I need you to move out, find a temporary place. I'm going to remodel it, and then you can come back. It was a lie. They moved them out, tripled the rent.
Thank you.
Follow
Thank you for
the
speaking.
money.
Well, guys, this is what America and the world at large really has relegated itself to becoming because of believing in lies and propaganda. So remember to keep it tight, mind your inputs, and mind more so your outputs. Peace.